Hey, my name's Chris. I write music as C.H.A.Y, and in this video you'll see me remix Daft Punk from start to finish. The songs are Rollin and Scratchin and the Brainwasher. Hope you enjoy. Alright, now you can see I got Ableton 11 open here, and the first thing I'm going to do is drag the stems in. By the way, you can change the video speed on YouTube to slow down the time lapses. Now I'm going to bring in Rollin and Scratchin. I bring in all the stems and warp them so they're in time with the tempo of the project. Once I do that, I start to pick the samples I want to use. Then I begin organizing sections of the arrangement, which you're about to hear. So what I'm doing right now is I'm setting up this section right here to be a build, and then here's where the drums are going to come in. So now I'm going to go ahead and make drums for this. I'm using the TR-09 for my drum samples. Here I'm creating a new pattern from scratch. This will be the foundation for the remix. Alright, so let me play it real quick. I'm gonna add some swing to it. I'm just writing in the rest of the pattern, adding in the ride, the rim shots, and the crash. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to sample the drum machine. As I record, I modulate the parameters and distort the input. I have to record all my drum sounds one at a time because there are no individual outputs. I do this all in one take to keep everything synced. Okay, so that's all recorded now. Time to start picking out the samples I want to use. I'm creating new channels for each sound. You'll have kick on one, snare, low tom, mid tom, high tom, and so on. I'll go through all channels and pick out sections that I like. I'll experiment with the transpose, warp settings, and timing. So now you see me duplicate the kick channel and reverse the clips. This is essentially going to be my bass line. After I pick through some of the drum samples I want to use, I start to work on the arrangement. Now I've recorded my drums, picked out the samples I like, and structured out the track a little bit more. Now here's what it sounds like with drums. I have to skip this section here because YouTube made a copyright claim. Alright, so I'm still structuring out the track, moving things around, creating new loops, and tightening everything up a little bit more. You can see me editing the Brainwasher stems here. I'm creating fades and crossfades to get smoother transitions. And then I start working on the other parts of the build. After that, I jump around different parts of the track and cut clips, creating new grooves and sequences. I'm constantly refreshing new ideas by moving parts around and muting different clips. I also edit warp settings and add in new warp markers. Alright, let's hear where it's at so far. Let's hear how it looks on a spectrum. It's not really mixed yet. Like, there's no side chain, I'm just placing the stems and samples still. I'm gonna change that kick later and just put an actual high pass on it. Alright, so it's looking pretty leveled right now. On the spectrum, it looks pretty even. so I'm happy with that. Fix some of this automation here. I guess some things got copied over. At this point, the track doesn't have an intro or an outro and is about 3 minutes long. During this time lapse, I'm completing the structure and getting more detailed with fills and automation. I like to keep my automation down to a minimum. I'll use fades or clip automation rather than adding new audio effects and having to keep track of automation lanes. The automation I usually start with is filter automation and automating the sends, things like delay and reverb. Right here I start doodling around on the Moog, but none of this ended up in the track. I saved that patch though, LFO tool right there. I use it a lot. Now you're about to listen to the completed structure. Alright, so I guess we're just gonna listen to it from the top and see what it sounds like right now. kick. You know, making music is kind of like you're solving a puzzle that you don't know the picture of yet. So a lot of it is just moving pieces around until you find something that fits together. Keeping the puzzle metaphor going, I like to find the border of the puzzle first and then work my way in. So I find the structure of the song and then I fill in the details. Now I'm gonna add some 808 sounds with the RD8. I'm creating the pattern here, going through all the drums and adding in steps. Now that the pattern's done, I'm going to record all my drums one sound at a time and modulate the parameters as I go. I get more than enough variation so I don't have to record again. Now that I've recorded my 808 sounds, I'm going through and organizing the samples and then picking out the ones I want to use in the track. This is a process of elimination because of all the modulation I did by hand. On each drum sound, I'll narrow it down to a few choices and then strategically place them around the track, or pick one and go with that. I'm really particular about the shaker because I did a lot of gain automation on the drum machine. I was essentially creating a more organic sidechain. I did this with several drum sounds as well as editing the steps while I was recording. This is a great way to generate happy accidents too. For example, if you listen to the 808 clap, you'll hear reverb automate in and out. That's actually a quirk on the drum machine when you unmute the clap channel after it's been muted for a while. Now let's listen to what the remix sounds like with the RD8 samples in a more complete arrangement. stopped it there because I heard something I wanted to change and then continued editing. So I'm moving around the placement of the RD8 samples, cutting clips for fills, creating fades, and automating send channels. Now I'm back on the Moog because I felt the track was missing something. I set it to panel mode, started changing the parameters, and recorded lots of variation. I then listened to and select samples I want to use from the recording. Once I've picked out some samples, I'll go through and place them throughout the arrangement. I ended up with the bass synth you're about to hear. Now I'm going through and organizing the project more. I'm creating new groups, adding EQs, and tightening the mix a little. I'll add Soothe to the vocal channel to reduce harshness. Now let's listen to the full arrangement. I'm continuing to edit and arrange the Moog samples by changing the warp mode, pitch, and drawing in clip automation. Now I'm tightening up the mix on multiple channels. I add Soothe and LFO tool for sidechain, more EQs, phase adjustments, but right now I'm mainly working on bass frequencies. After I get a tight sidechain, I start working on the rest of the channels. I'm fine-tuning the drum mix next because it's a full spectrum, meaning I can balance out my lows and highs. I'll pan and widen channels to give me more room to mix. For this, I'm using choruses, imagers, and auto panning. I then mix in other main elements of the track by adding EQs, compression, sidechain compression, imagers, limiters, and gain staging. I'm also adjusting all my send channels as I mix. After working on the channels I want in the front of the mix, I start working on the background. These are things like atmospheres and effects. From there, I'll mix in the fills and finalize transitions. Once I've mixed all channels, I'll go through and adjust anything I need to. When I feel my mix is okay, I send my channels to the exterior out, which go to the mixer. I organize my channels and turn the volume up, create a new input for the master out on the mixer, drop a spectrum on there, and then I EQ, pan, and gain stage on the mixer. The reason I do this is because I focus more on what I hear rather than what I see on the screen, and all the adjustments are extremely precise. The EQs have a lot of character, the panning is very direct, and the volume faders are hair sensitive. And most importantly, I can adjust multiple channels at the same time. Before I record, I check my stereo image to make sure everything's balanced properly. I mute everything on the mixer and record one channel at a time. I do this because the mixer only records the channel settings on the master output. I split the recording into new audio tracks for each pass through on the mixer. I repeat this process and send more channels out from Ableton to the mixer. I'm also rendering out my send channels from Ableton and using onboard mixer effects. It takes more time to do this because I have to mute and unmute channels every time the track repeats. After I record and organize everything, I do my final edits and export the stems. Then I import them into a new project. I remove silent areas from all channels to avoid noise buildup, and then I begin the mastering process. I send my channels to groups and edit them in chains. So instead of mastering one stereo mix, I master a group with non-percussive elements first and then send that to a group with my drums. I'll master that and send it to another group with my vocals, effects, and other main elements. From there I master the stereo mix. I export that and then the remix is complete. Let's take a listen to the final results. that's it. That is my remix of Daft Punk. And here's a fun fact. Over 7 days, I recorded 49 hours and 20 minutes of footage. That's how long it took me to remix this track from start to finish. This is just a peek into my music production process. If you want to learn more, I encourage you to check out my Patreon. I'm doing one-on-one sessions, mixing and mastering, and I'll personally work on your music. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe. I appreciate it. You can download the remix for free on my SoundCloud, and you can watch the music video on my YouTube channel. Links are in the description below. Thanks for watching.